Hello, hello, hello. It's Saturday. I am woman, the conversation. Let's talk. My guest today is an amazing woman. She has done so many different things in the community, and I'm super, super, super excited to have her, Miss Shay Simpson. So I'm excited. As soon as she jumps on, I will add her into the conversation. She's an amazing, amazing woman of God. I mean, I'm just super, super excited to have her. And I mean, one of the most important things right now that we can do is know, learn, understand the importance of worship. So I'm super excited to have her so that I can share some information just about worship and what it is and what that looks like and how we can all, just spend some time worshiping in this season. So let's see. I think this is her. Let's see. And as soon as she jumps in, I will just add her to the call. So, all right, guys. So, guess what? This is the last session of I Am Woman, the conversation. I'm super, super glad that everyone has spent some time with me in the month of May on these Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just so happened last day being on a Saturday. And we have some exciting things that are going to be going on next month because I'm going to be doing some more conversations, and those are going to be really good because we're going to be focusing on the male aspect. So I'm super excited to have a couple of different men who have agreed to sit and have a little chat with me about some different topics that will, of course, make us all super, super excited about some of the things that are going on. Just different things in the community and different things that people have asked questions about, and we'll have an opportunity to get some of those things from a male perspective. So I'm super excited to be able to have some time to be able to chat with a couple of different men and just gain some insight to how they think, how they work, how they operate. I mean, I'm married, but I don't know everything about my husband all the time. So it's always good to have a male's point of view. So I'm super, super excited about that. So you guys hopefully will be able to join me next month on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I will be super, super excited about that. So let's see and make sure everything's working well. Uh-oh. Can you see me?
I can see you.
And you look great. Look, I'm not done up or anything, girl. You look.
Girl, uh-uh. I just did this make me feel better about myself.
Hello, hello. Ain't nothing
Can
wrong
you
with.
hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you great. And my
Okay.
and you look great. I can see your background and everything. So you should
Hey, Cedric. That's what my friends just got on. Cedric, he's a stylist. He lives in New York. He's phenomenal.
look at that. See, so ladies and gentlemen, the amazing, the beautiful, the talented, the anointed, amazing mother, Miss Simpson. Yes.
Hello, Miss Walker.
Thank you so much for joining me. I know this isn't something that's normal for you, but I'm grateful that you were able to take time to chat with me and kind of just give people your perspective on things that you're knowledgeable of. Not to say that you're an expert, but you have experience, and you can talk from your experience. So what I would like for you to do is to just introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you
Okay.
do, and then most important, why you do it. Our why is always so important. So can you just share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure. Well, I'm Shay Simpson. My legal name is Yolanda Marche Simpson. But Shay has just followed me all my life. I grew up being called Shay Shay, so I guess once wasn't enough. And I'm a native resident of Russellville, Kentucky, which
Russell.
is about 50, yeah, cows, horses, all that.
Oh
Uh,
Lord.
which is about 50 miles north of Nashville, Tennessee. So I grew up there. I'm an only child. Very musical family. Started singing when I was about 4, and my family already had a singing group, my mother and dad, and I automatically was inducted into the family group. We were called the Cross Family.
Yeah.
We did a lot of stuff, did some TV, Bobby Jones show, all that stuff when I was growing up. So yeah, so I've been singing in front of audiences and on stages since I was about 4 or 5, winning talent shows, all that stuff. So they always instilled in me faith and excellence, especially musical excellence. So that's really kind of where I got my start when it comes to being in music ministry, really, because I was in the choir. My mom was a director. She was kind of like what you would call a worship leader now. Played
Okay.
piano. My dad was a phenomenal singer. He could riff and run up and down. That's where I get it from.
Yes.
So I was a cheerleader in high school. I was fit then, and and also I was also singing chorus. I played tuba in the band,
You
the
play
biggest instrument.
now.
I
Shay
was about
learning something with y'all today. Okay, I didn't know Shay played the tuba. All right.
in the marching band, like
Oh,
the big one,
good.
right? Like this. I was about 4'11" then. I'm 5 feet now, so
Wow.
it
I
was hilarious. But I was like, I ain't afraid of no tuba. Come on.
hears of that. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so fast forward, I we came to Atlanta for a family vacation. And I just fell in love with the city, and for whatever reason, I wanted to either go to Clark. It was Clark College then, because it was in the 80s, or Hampton University. But because I was an only child, I didn't want to be that far from my family, so my parents. So I chose Clark. So I moved to Atlanta and studied music at Clark, and studied classical music, all that stuff, classical hymns, anthems. I was in the Philharmonic Choir, which is a school choir, but I started off being the assistant director for the college choir, which was called Inspirational Voices of Faith, and they still exist today. So I started out being the assistant director then, and then I went on to become the director, like my last year or two there. But
Wow.
I didn't, yeah, so I did not finish because I got bored with the program. They kind of threatened us and said, if you're singing gospel, we'll kick you out. And I mean, that's all I knew on the weekends was to
Wow.
sing gospel. But a lot of people were losing scholarships and stuff for participating with music ministry in churches on the weekend. They were getting their school scholarships taken away. So the way the program was designed, it seemed like it was going to take me about 6 years to graduate, and I just didn't have it in me. But I started getting opportunities to sing professionally while I was in college. As a matter of fact, I met Byron Cage. He was attending Morehouse. I was at Clark, and I would invite him over to do some of our rehearsals, teach us music. So we've known each other since college.
Wow.
And so when artists would come to town, he and Jonathan Alvarado, they would hook me up with the artists Daryl Coley, Yolanda Adams, the who's who of gospel back then.
Wow.
And I just started doing background professionally. Sometimes the pay was okay, but I just wanted the experience, you know.
Right.
And I later became a part of Byron's group called Byron Cage and Purpose. I was one of the original members. I was like, what was I, like 8 months pregnant, I think, when we did the recording. But yeah, so because I got married at 21. After I stopped going to college, after a couple of years, I got married, and I've just kind of been doing it ever since. I love music. I love singing. I love excellence in music because I just don't believe in giving God just anything.
Right.
Um, so it got to the point where Byron invited me to New Birth because he was the choir director and Jonathan Alvarado was the minister of music. Bishop Jonathan Alvarado was the minister of music. So my family joined the small church first, me and my husband, and I started singing in the chorale because I really didn't want to be in the choir. I wanted to be in a smaller group that sang more challenging music. So where you had to audition to get in. So I did that for years, actually, until I left. I stayed at New Birth about 7 or 8 years. We moved into the big building. Bishop Eddie Long became a bishop, and soon after that, within a year, we left, and then I started serving at a couple of other churches, Stronghold Christian Church, and later Total Grace Christian Center, which is where I really got my training to be a worship leader. And I was there 15 years. So that's kind of my life. I have 3 children. My oldest child is a son named Devin. He's 27. I have a son named Donovan. He's 25, and my daughter is 18. Her name is Victoria, and she just graduated without a ceremony yet, but we're gonna have one in June.
Yes. That
So
is,
that's kind of it.
oh, Jay, oh my God. I feel like I just had a whole life lesson. I had no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
Resume is just such a beautiful story. I mean, no idea. I think sometimes a lot of people, they know people and they just name drop all the time. Y'all have no idea how many times I've been in Brown Shade. She don't talk about nothing. She don't say nothing. She's so humble, y'all. She doesn't say would never know that she's been around and worked with and sang for and sang with so many different people. I mean, just wow. And then I had no idea, one, that you went to Clark. Then
Mhm.
two, I don't think I realized that your family had a group. Like, are there albums and things that are still around now?
There's a vintage album that I keep hidden.
Or tell me
I'm gonna
and I'm gonna search, I'm gonna find it. I'm telling you.
I'm gonna get it converted digitally now, especially now that both my parents are gone. I want to keep it going with my kids and stuff. They don't really sing, but just for them to hear my parents' voices as singers and stuff, I think is important.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that's really important, obviously, you grew up in music. You've had in your soul since you came to this earth. So being in music, like, what is it? Find worship, because I know once you get into transition into the church, and I mean there may go people who don't go, but what is worship? And maybe to you don't have to have
Okay.
a Webster
A
dictionary.
Webster dictionary because I got it right here. What Miss Webster say? Mr. Webster. Well, worship is actually, let me just say this. We are all worshipers. Some people say I'm not a worshiper because they don't feel that they're as expressive as the next person, but we're all worshipers. And worship to me is basically when you adore, reverence something or someone, you hold them in high esteem. We all worship something, whether it is a car, whether it's a job, whether it's our bodies, our hair, our children, our spouses, prestige, the platform. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh no, you don't.
The microphone. We all worship something because God placed that in us innately as human beings to worship.
Right,
So that's kind of what I feel in a nutshell. That's what worship is, and worship is more of a heart posture than an outward expression.
right,
For me, um, my outward expression is an overflow of my heart. It's heart posture,
right.
because you really can't. Having children, they can obey you just so they don't get in trouble, but their heart can still be like, "I'm done with mom for the rest of the
But
day."
it, all integrity, yes.
So we can kind of be distant from God, but still like have all the outward expressions where it could actually trick man into thinking that, oh, they're really worshiping, but they really may not have a relationship with God. They may just be doing it just because they don't want to stand out, that they're the only ones not lifting their hands or whatever. But worship is about a posture, heart posture before the Father. And in my opinion, the highest form of worship is obedience to God.
Yes, that's
When you
good.
just surrender your will to God, your choices, whatever your desires are, your aspirations, you say, God, this is what I have on paper, but ultimately, you know why you created me to be in this earth, and I'm submitting that plan to you. You
Yes,
know, I
that is.
think Jesus is. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you said something really important. It's about that relationship. Having that relationship with God, and so many people um, pretend. I'll just use the word. So many people pretend and lack relationship, and realize when they are, well, when they're supposed to be assigned to assist people in ushering in the presence of God and things like that. When they're up there pretending, there are people who are becoming more and more lost because they are pretending, or because they're
Wow.
functioning in what God actually told them to do. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know. I guess I don't know really how to put it into words, but you know, just that ability to truly spend time with God and develop that relationship with Him, you know, allows them when you're standing before people to God to be the one who's exuding from you versus
Yeah.
exuding themselves. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And to add to that, I mean, there's a scripture that says, "My people praise me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." So that in itself lets you know it's possible to do have the outward expression without a heart posture. And I also, to add to that, it's like what you were saying about kind of leading people astray or whatever when your heart isn't in the right position. I think also um, what when you're anointed and graced to do something, the evidence is there. You don't have to try hard. Um, you don't have to act like you're kind of driving an 18 wheeler. It's not a lot of you don't have to put forth a lot of human effort
Right.
into making it happen. You know, of course, we kind of get wild sometimes because we just love God and want to express our appreciation for His goodness. But I see in the body, I see a lot of striving with a lot of worship leaders. It's like if I don't get a certain expression out of the audience, then I haven't done my job. Or are you driving it because you get affirmation from what you feel like how the people are responding to what you're doing? That's a dangerous place too, because then you put that position or even the people in an idolatrous position. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? It's like I'm after your response rather than God's response, and that's dangerous to me.
So significant. That's such a danger. With you know the times that we're in right now, everybody's looking for something. You know, they're looking for something. You know, they're looking for the hope. They're looking for the peace or the understanding or the clarity. And a lot of people are turning to or turning back to the church and
Mm-hmm.
realizing, obviously, as you and I know, that the church isn't just four walls. So we are the church.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
walking um, as our in ourselves. But you know, what would you say to the person you know that's going through the pandemic right now? You know, it's unsure of their faith maybe, but is choosing to turn to the church or turn to the idea of the church
Mhm.
to help give them some hope right now.
Um, I've kind of been in that place. Although I'm a believer, that we our heart has a lot of questions right now. Like last night, I really didn't sleep well. I was like just kind of struggling because of all the images that I was seeing with the looting and things like that. I think the important thing that we have to encourage people to do is to be honest with God first. Be honest with God about where you are. If you're frustrated, if you're tired, if you're weary, He understands all of that because Jesus is certainly acquainted with anything that we'll ever go through and anything we'll ever feel. So God's presence is a safe place. And sometimes when you can't find the words to say, you can look through the scriptures because David, I mean, listen, David was the one to just lay it all out. And from time to time, I'll just find a psalm that just speaks the sentiments of my heart. So that's the first thing. Don't feel like you have to come to God perfectly, and then find some believers that give you that safe space for you to exist. If you're in an in between space, like you're like, I don't know if I want to continue to be a believer or give up because it seems like it's taking God too long or whatever, make sure you have a community around you because sometimes it's hard to build community in a big congregation unless they have small groups, which I think are great, and I think that's what the church is returning back to. Even in this virtual space, I think small groups are being created, through these kind of things. If people go back and look at it, or private Facebook groups and all that, where it's a safe place for people to kind of share where they are on their journey. And because everybody can't handle where you are on your journey. I remember when my mom passed away 22 years ago. She was 46, and through the first part of that season, because I was about 29, 30, for a season, my worship was lamenting before God, especially at home. I would cry out to God, lay on my face. My boys were about 4 and 5. They were just, but I found comfort in being able to wail before God. Like, God, I don't really like you right now because you disappointed me. And a
Right.
religious person will say, don't say that because, but if I don't say it, God still knows it's in my heart, and He knows why I'm frustrated. He knows the type of tear that takes place when you lose a parent, especially based upon your relationship with that person. So I think it's important that whatever community you connect with, they need to be a safe community for where you are on your journey. Because if not, it can potentially cause some damage, especially if there's like a standard that we can't handle your honesty, we can't handle where you are in your journey, we can't handle that you're still slipping and falling sexually. We need you to, holiness is right, and it is. I want to bring balance to it, but we're all on a journey, and some people's journey you can see it, some people's journey you can't because it's hidden or because it's surrounded with deception. You know what I'm saying? But that's why we have to just stay in a posture where we have grace.
Right.
The same grace that God has given us, we have to learn to have grace with others. So I'm sorry if that was a long
No. Oh,
answer.
because I think we forget the importance. We as individuals sometimes are so focused on people and the connections that we have around us that we forget about the spiritual relationships, spiritual connections that we have. If you want to grow in your faith, you need to be around people who are where you would like to be in your faith or who are willing to grow in your faith with you. Because sometimes, I've had many friendships that, were great friendships, even friendships in the church that were just great friendships, and they didn't end badly, but we just
Yeah.
apart because we were transitioning into different places. Um,
Yeah.
Duality, and I can still talk to and communicate with the person, say hello and things like that, but we're just not as close as we used to be because we grew to different spaces in God. And it's
Absolutely.
such a beautiful thing when you allow someone's season to be up in your life. Because so many times we try to hold on to what we're not supposed to hold on to.
That's true.
We get lost in this space. I remember I came to one of my churches that I used to attend when I first met you guys. I think it was maybe around 2009, 2010. And I was transitioning from a church that I had been at for 13 years. And,
Wow.
I literally went to my pastor and just, before I could even get my words out, I wept and cried. And he's like, Ebony, what's wrong? And the Lord is telling me to go. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. He said, because when the Lord tell me to go, I'm going.
Now that is not popular
And
among
that's
leaders
what
at all.
and
Yeah.
that's what he told me, and it was so freeing.
Yeah.
People don't believe in this, but when I go to a church before I leave, I like to let the pastor or someone in the church know that I'm departing. I can't just, for me, it's not about, oh, I can just pick up and walk away. People who are able to do that have not made a connection or don't have.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like I have to say something. I can't just walk out and never come back. I just
Right.
know how to do that. And my minister of music at the time, I told him that I was leaving, and he was like, "What?" I said,
Mm-hmm.
"I have to go."
Because you're an asset, Ebony. You're a great asset.
I said, "I gotta go," and you know him, Trent Phillips. Um,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
it's like, um,
Nobody wants to lose Ebony.
it's like
Nobody.
Sunday. I said, no. My last son is gonna be at the end of the year, but it's such a difficult thing for me because I had created so many relationships, so many connections, and I heard God tell me to leave the year before, and my whole 2009 was just like this. It wasn't.
Wow.
It wasn't alive, but it was
Mm-hmm.
that was nobody wants to just breathe.
That's
Um,
true.
Period. So I think it's so good where you talk about just surrounding yourself with people. It was because I was connected to them. It was
Mm-hmm.
because I was surrounded by, my former pastor and people like Trent that God was able to speak to me so clearly. People who allowed me to be
Good.
in my space, um,
Mm-hmm.
down to worshiping. So that who you surround yourself with that you spoke of, that is so important to be able to have those relationships and those connections. And, that even goes for our children. Our children are connected to us. We have a significant responsibility as moms and as parents in general to help guide them in purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about just your children, you know, and how you allow God to help guide you in purpose for their life, and how I know a lot of parents struggle with this. Like, okay, God, what are they intended to do? Like, what is it that how am I supposed to guide them? Like, talk
Yeah.
about that with your children and how you nurtured that.
Well, I've been a mom a long time. I'm 52 years old now, and I had my first child when I was about 24. I think we've been married maybe 3 years. That's Devin. He's 27 now. He has a daughter, so I'm a grandmother too. Hey, Dylan, that's my baby. She's 5 now. Um, of course, faith has always been a cornerstone for our family. The way we function, the way we interact, and all that stuff. They grew up, laying on church benches while I was rehearsing and all that stuff.
Right. Like,
So that's always been, huh?
like mine did with us.
Yes. You just pack them up and say, keep it moving. And because my sons are 21 months apart, they were kind of like twins. So because they were so close in age, um, you know, it was like raising two, but they kind of helped take care of each other too. So that was good. Um, what we did on the practical side, we exposed our children to different things just to see what they would naturally be attracted to, or what they would naturally be drawn to, I should say.
Right.
From karate to, I mean, all the stuff little kids love to do. Tori, my daughter Victoria, she started dancing at age 3.
Right.
Now, the first few days, I was like, I don't know if this is for her, but I mean, she wants to be a professional dancer now.
Right.
So my oldest son, he does music tracks, and he and his friend have like a rap group. And my middle son, he's a classical pianist.
Oh wow.
I will say this, hopefully it'll help somebody. My middle son, when my dad passed away, my middle son developed a mood disorder in his brain. He was 14 when my dad died, and my dad died on the first day of his sophomore year. Donovan is his name.
Wow.
His sophomore year. And so he just kind of went through a tough season, self-harming, cutting, um, wanted to die, tried to commit suicide a couple of times. It was horrible. It was awful. And so his journey was a little different because Devin went straight through high school and all that stuff. Donovan, his high school years were totally different because I had to pull him out of public school because I was just trying to keep him alive. And for him, school was a trigger.
Right.
And I'll stop and say this because I feel led to say it. Anyone that has a child that is pre-adolescent, adolescent, keep an eye on the changes in their moods, the changes in their behavior, because we took the holistic route. We, of course, covered him in prayer, fasting, had people, praying with us, believing him for a breakthrough. But we also took him to a psychiatrist, and he had to have medicine because he was dealing with paranoia. So we had to get his brain chemistry balanced out so that he wouldn't be so overwhelmed that he felt like the only relief was to cut.
Right.
Because anybody that knows anybody that self-harms, they'll tell you whatever their issue is, it's like whatever voice they're hearing, it stops talking as long as they're self-harming.
Right.
So they do that to try to manage the turmoil that the voices are speaking to them. So his journey was a little different. So I pulled him out of traditional school, and he finished online. And he got discouraged along the way and had a couple of years where his grades weren't really good because he was just trying to live. That's why I stopped traveling as much and all that, because I need to keep my baby safe and keep him alive. So when people like, what you been doing? Keeping my child alive. How about that?
Right.
So he actually graduated from an online school at 21.
Wow.
Most people would have given up by then. And we went all out, had a celebration. They had a graduation downtown and everything. So it's like every child's path is different. So Donovan, my middle son, always wanted to be an attorney. But whatever happened in his brain, God created a musical genius. He has not been musical his whole life. But around 14, 15, a friend of mine said, music really helped me because it's therapeutic to the brain. He said, let me come over and see how it'll help Donovan. After like 2 lessons, he said, Donovan is a musical genius. I said, no, he's not. I said, I would know that. I'm musical. He said, I'm telling you, he is. He has his own YouTube channel. He makes money from YouTube. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm like, God, I'm telling him, I told Donovan, I said, we have a test, of course, with the Holy Spirit. Did we lose you?
No, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay. Of course, with the Holy Spirit and music therapy, the therapeutic part of music, that's what healed his brain. you know,
Right.
and it's just amazing. And I went going through that. I had times where Cedric, I don't even know if you knew that about my son, but I had seasons where I was like, God, I'm getting emails from people. One particular girl emailed me. She said, I had a handful of pills and I was getting ready to take it. She said, but I listened to your song, Ordinary Servant. And it went when it got to the line that says, I believe if you can use a shepherd boy and turn him into a king, then I believe that your ordinary servant has an extraordinary purpose. Lord, use me for whatever you please. She said, when I heard that line, I put the pills down. She
Wow.
said, I got rid of them and I went and I told my mom, I can't remember if she was living with her mom or grandparents or whatever, but she went and told them, y'all don't know, but I was upstairs getting ready to commit suicide. And I was like, God, you're using my ministry to set other people free. And I'm living in a house with a son that is bound and I can't get him free. Now he was doing better on medicine and stuff like that, but he was still having major struggles to the point where a couple of times we thought we were going to have him admitted to the hospital just to keep him safe.
Mm-hmm.
This is real. And I had to worship through all of that. Like a few times I did have to travel and I would put on dark sunglasses and weep the whole flight because I didn't want to go. I was like, God, I don't have anything to give to these people. I want to be home with my son. And God told me, he said, you have committed your son unto me. So I'm going to give you everything you need to pour out to these people when you get there. And he always did. Now, I was depleted afterwards because it's almost like he would fill me to do the
What?
ministry moment. And then that was it. The grace would lift and I would get back on the plane and come home. So
Wow.
that was the journey with him. And with Victoria, she's been homeschooled a couple of years and stuff, but listen, the Lord has been faithful. Her birthday is 9/11/01, so she's born on the actual day.
Wow.
And she's had some struggles with the circumstances surrounding her prom and graduation not happening. And one thing she said to me, she said, Mom, I just feel like with my milestones in my life, it's always tragedy surrounding it. She said, I was born on 9/11 when the world was in an uproar, turmoil. And now, graduating in prom, I can't do that because of everything that's happening. And, I just comforted her, let her cry it out. She still has moments. I just try to be that kind of supportive mom that is there without judgment on their journey. And one of the things I'm learning, what I have learned and still learning, and you'll learn this as your children get older, you parent differently in different seasons. Like now with my sons, I'm more of like a counselor advisor. You know, with Victoria, it's a little bit more direction, still imparting and all that stuff. But sometimes parenting becomes hard when parents don't shift and
Yeah.
then the kids start rebelling because they want a little bit more independence, and we can see the danger coming, but sometimes we have to let them skin their knee, or we have to let them let circumstances catch up to them where it teaches them a lesson, because they're going to always come back and say, Mom, you were right.
At least that's the part we hope for. But I'm telling you, I went back and told my mom, I was like, "Whoa, mama, whoa, mama."
Especially when you see your personality traits that you would rather not have in your child.
And I figured out how my 6-year-old came out acting like the 25-year-old me. I don't like how. How did you?
Yeah.
Why you didn't get me as a kid? How you come
And
out?
well, girls are different too, because your oldest is a boy, right?
No, my oldest is the girl. She's
Oh,
6.
your oldest is a girl. Okay.
One who act like me at 25. I'm like, wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
Absolutely.
My son, he's 4, about to be 5, and he's just so calm, so
That's
relaxed.
the middle child. That's the middle child. I don't want to say syndrome. Oh, you are too? Okay.
Little child. So I'm like, yes, this is what you're supposed to act like. And then my youngest one, who's 1, he just think he is in charge.
Oh, he is.
It won't. He just starts screaming. But
Yeah.
I think my husband and I, we have really, really tried to zone in on what are their gifts, and if we see something early, especially like my son, he's 4, about to be 5, but he started drumming at 2 with
Absolutely.
pencils and things like that. He just was drumming, and he was doing like a lot of like syncopation and a lot. My husband,
Yeah, natural.
my
Yeah.
musician. I sing, but he's a musician, and
Mm-hmm.
my husband was like, "Babe, no, he can really play." And I'm like, "He just playing with some straws." My husband was like, "No."
No, he knew what to look for. Yeah.
So my husband was like, "No, we need to get him in some lessons." So we called and called around, and nobody would really take him until they saw him play, and they were like, "Oh." yeah, he come on over
Mm-hmm.
here. So he's been really honing his drum skills. He watches drum videos online all the time. That's all he watches. All he does is walk around with his little fingers out. And I'm like, okay,
I love that.
for now, that's what you want to do, and we want to nurture that. And my daughter,
Yes.
she's not a good singer. I try to, you know, make sure I'm like, baby girl, that's not the right note. That's but she loves to sing. So she keeps practicing. She keeps working that. And
That's
she's
good.
like, now, mommy, how did that sound? Did that sound better? She
Oh, that's sweet.
so
That's sweet.
go over notes, and try to remind her of things. But just the whole idea of allowing them to do what they want to do in that season to see if it's what's supposed to stick,
Right.
and giving them time to figure it out. I mean, they're 1, 4, and 6. They got
They have time. Yeah.
to figure it
Hmm.
out. But if it's something that's supposed to start now, I just don't want to,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
because sometimes,
I think it's good for parents to pay attention to, like, if they get to the point where they just don't want to go to uh rehearsal anymore or practice anymore. It may be lack of sleep or whatever, but if it becomes habitual, that may not be for them. And I know for a lot of parents sometimes that stuff like, no, you made the commitment, you're going to stick it out. I think we have to balance that out. I get the principle because you do want to instill perseverance, but if they are miserable when
right,
when the joy is no longer there, you may want to expose them to something more. Maybe they don't want basketball anymore, but they're great at football, or
right,
they're great at baseball, or they're great with karate or martial arts. It's still active and still this level of discipline built into the sport. So I think that a lot of parents, we kind of have to give up on, because some of us come here, when our kids come, we come with a preconceived idea of who they're going to be, and sometimes it's based on the stuff that we did not accomplish in our lives. So we put that pressure on them,
yeah,
and we have to just open ourselves up to, they have their own path. Like my children they have awesome ears. They can hear extremely well. They can hear parts, but they don't want to sing. My granddaughter, she can sing.
mm,
Like she said, into the unknown. Ah, she sings really hard intervals that a 4 or 5 year old wouldn't normally do. I
wow,
said, that's the singer right there.
right,
So I'm gonna start nurturing
right.
nurturing that in her.
But we got it.
Yeah, absolutely. But if she wasn't, it would be fine with me. I want her to be who God created her to be. And I think as parents, we have to give our kids that freedom. And it's a journey, because the thing is, we're still not fully who all that we're going to be in God.
That's right.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Because if you think about when you reinvent yourself, I'm kind of at this phase of my life, being in my 50s. It's like, I'm going to always lead worship, probably always, work with ministries and stuff like that. But outside of that, I want to begin to do some other things now that my children are, you know,
Getting older.
flying on. They got their wings.
Little Tina. Oh,
Yeah.
it's,
I
well,
sacrificed a lot, Ebony, to be in place for my kids. I could have been on tour. I remember right after I had my middle child, he was maybe 3 months old, and there was an audition for BB and CC Winans that was in town. That's when they were really in the prime of their career, and hundreds of people from Atlanta showed up, and it came down to me and Kim, who used to sing with Fred Hammond. We knew each other too, and they had us stay, and they, can you stay because it's down to you all. And they said the only reason why they didn't choose me was because I had just had a baby. They didn't want me to leave the baby and go on tour. So I've made a lot of sacrifices, a lot of things I could have done. I did sing with Israel and Newbury for about 5 years, but that was in a season in my life where I had the freedom to travel, and my kids were still fine at home, because it was kind of like a back and forth trip. But
right,
I could be going on a tour, I could be on a cruise ship, whatever. But I just like being a hands-on mom, and even my sons being older, because our family is so small and I'm an only child. I just kind of like staying kind of close. I
right,
like to be close more than I'm away. So
right,
that kind of works for us for now.
right. Well, Shay, I mean, this has been so amazing. We only have about 4 minutes left. And
Wow.
yeah, see how fast time flies?
Yes, absolutely.
Before you go, I wanted to talk a little bit just about your position. I know that you
Mhm.
are director of Ministry of Music. Can you just one tip to the other that's listening? One or two tips
Okay.
to the other director, Ministry of Leader Worship. Who's watching,
Mhm.
who gets the playback, and they need a tip to kind of figure out how to keep going. You know,
Keep going. Woo!
look, if they're supposed to,
Yeah.
if they're supposed to
If you're
keep,
supposed to.
how
Right.
do
Yeah.
that's just one or two tips about what they can
Okay.
during the
Okay. Well, I would like to say, first of all, I'm blessed to serve as worship and creative arts director at I Thrive Christian Church under the leadership of Overseer Andre Landers. You know, we have to do the church thing.
right.
So it's a great group of people that God allows me to serve. Um, and during this time of pandemic, because we don't really see each other, because we're not coming in the building right now, because Overseer has our safety as the priority, we've just had to become creative in how to stay connected. I think it's important to reach out to those that you serve, um, create a private Facebook group, stay connected that way, because for some people, especially transplants to Atlanta, sometimes your ministry family is the only family that you have. I have a particular choir member who's lost 8 family members to COVID. So I've been intentional about picking up the phone, calling her, checking on her. That level of connection means a lot to people, whether it's text, calling, that type of thing. And I think it's also important for people that do what we do in a leadership capacity to always pursue growing, whether it's books, podcasts. I'm rereading books that I started reading when I first started leading worship, because you can always pick out new nuggets because you're in a different place. And I think it's important to surround yourself with community,
Right.
because you're pouring out all the time. And I think one reason why people get burnt out is because we don't have a place where we can go to be replenished. And a lot of times that does not come with the people that you serve, because you're there to pour out. But you can find a community of people that do what you do at another level, or at the same level. But I think community is very important, because especially during this time, because you can have a lot of warfare going on in your brain that you don't want to dump on those people that you lead. But I got like some people on speed dial, like, look, today I'm not feeling it. I'm just like over America.
Right.
And how are we supposed to
It's
navigate
something
this?
I can't say on social media. That's
Exactly. I try to be responsible. That's
right.
another thing. I think when we're in ministry, we need to be very responsible about our posts, because people should not experience one personality or one person on Sundays or when we minister, and a totally different person, like totally losing it, totally going off. They shouldn't experience that on social media. You got a journal. Some stuff is for a journal. Some stuff is for a therapist couch. Some stuff is for a your small group, accountability group.
Right.
So let's
Right.
do better with that, people of God.
Well, thank you so much, Shay. I appreciate you just carving out some time for me. Y'all don't know, Shay is the woman, okay? So I had to make sure she had so much going. And no, can you? And she sacrificed for me, and I'm so grateful. You never know. She always, people who share with you and help you heal behind the scenes, those are the good people. And Shay, you are
Amen.
beautiful.
I
Your
love
spirit,
you.
energy always exudes such greatness, and you always function with excellence. And it's rare that you meet people on earth that are like that. So you are a true gem. Whether people tell you enough or not, whether people are giving you your flowers now or not, you are a true gem. You are a true diamond,
Oh, thank you.
that is
Thank you, Ebony.
healing people. And the beautiful thing about diamonds is when you put them in sunlight, they shine in a bunch of different places. And there's so many people that you shined your light on, that you have been
Hallelujah.
healed. And it's just,
Oh,
I'm so grateful for you. I really, really,
thank you.
and thank
I
you.
have to I have to give you a shout out for the
Oh,
invitation. This is outside of my comfort zone. But I said I can trust Ebony. But I'm just so grateful for you stepping out and doing something different and creating a space like this. I think it's phenomenal, and I speak blessings and favor over everything that's concerning your future, your destiny, your home, your everything that God is calling you to do. And I appreciate you having a balanced perspective. You have a spiritual perspective and you have a practical perspective. We can all that kind of brings a well-rounded approach to what we're doing.
yes. So thank you so much for participating. And you guys can follow her. You can Shay Simpson. You can tell me your Instagram name again, Shay.
My Instagram name is Radical Shay, RADICALSHA. And on
Yeah,
Facebook, I'm Shay Simpson, SHA Simpson.
radical.
I'm radical, honey. Oh, are you able to save this, Ebony?
Yes, it's gonna go
Okay.
straight to the way Instagram has it set up. It goes straight to my Instagram. So once it loads,
Okay.
I can send it to your messages and you can share it on your side.
Okay, great.
Yep. So
Thank you, love.
so thank you guys. So this has been I Am Woman, the conversation. Let's talk. Thank y'all so much for tuning in
Thanks
and
for tuning in, everyone. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.
bye.
Bye bye.
Oh Lord. I felt so bad.